Another reading from Fail-Safe, The Kennedy Curse Fused with Science Fiction by Susan MeeLing. Or Reverend Susan MeeLing, or Lady Dori, Belle, a bunch of other nicknames. Though Rose's entire existence, and well after her husband's upcoming death, she kept the lessons of the piano in the forefront of her mind. It would prove to be useful much sooner than planned, making sure the musical theories were always in check with her spirituality. The small religious sect allowed her to pursue mystical endeavors. Rose had taken time to visit the family's homeland in Ireland a few years before the engagement announcement. The Rosicrucian sect inside of the Catholic Church had informed her of ways to tap into ethereal sources from the energies of the church. Tapping into the natural vibrations of each and every saint, the possibilities of magic that she could do are endless. While also utilizing the natural energies of astrological positions and plants, the group engaged her senses. Against the Rosicrucian leader's wishes, Rose left the grounds to find the witches of Stonehenge. Hoping to blend and balance the spiritual similarities of each higher sect, the witches refused to come out of the shadows in fear, rightfully, of their safety, reminding Rose of the Rosicrucian sect being infamous for secrecy at times and needs of certain executions. She continued her attempts, explaining the purpose for safety needed of their information. Neither group agreed at the time to go public. Understanding both explanations, and after many lost battles within each group, Rose continued to pass on traditions only as she allowed herself to do. Over time, she would receive signs to move forward or whom to give which information to, but never giving all until the right time. Against everyone's initial wishes, Rose knew of the need to combine the three aspects together. Long after the courtship began from Joseph P. Kennedy Sr., she consulted her father's advice. He reminded her the virtue of a woman is in her stature, is worth holding on to, not solely for religious purposes, but also for a positive, profitable future. In many ways, the courtship of Rose would come to resemble business arrangements, as many rejections were given to Joe initially. Unbeknownst to her at the time, her father had been arranging business ventures with his daughter as the final bargaining chip. Similar to the way many view the Common Era's Clinton multiple marriage proposals, the refusals had only been due to an unsuccessful business proposal, not as a failed romantic marriage proposal, as portrayed usually. Wanting to ensure a healthy career for his son-in-law to care for his child correctly, Honey was stringent with the deals within the details to solidify Honey's legacy. Unfortunately, it would not be until decades later when Rose would learn of her own father's treacheries, and far too late to fix them for him. Joseph had followed in his father's footsteps, becoming a business philanthropist, and a shady one beyond measure. Rumors of Joe's dances with the devil himself had been spoken of only behind closed doors. Entering the political realm in attempts to become a leader, the husband would not fall far from his heritage tree. The comment, like father, like son, would soon prevail throughout their marriage, disgusting herself even more. The arrangement assigned in the final parts due to the financial rise to the top, transitioning her husband, Joseph P. Kennedy Sr., into a well-known Wall Street lucky guru. Due to the man's claimed ear to the ground, her husband was responsible for creating the top 1% of wealth. For centuries to come, the families quickly made wealthy would continue to enjoy their riches, losing Honey Fitz's concerns for the common man. The Democratic Party took a turn with the Kennedy name attachment. Not listening to Rose at that time. Uneasy during the entirety of the courtship, Rose's father had been the one to encourage the final step of marriage. Rose had been unsure of any formal romantic relationship with Joseph during their 7-year courtship. Knowing she had been blessed with a fertile uterus, she knew her worth at that time. Finally, giving in to her father's wishes, Rose and Joe exchanged their wedding vows. While he continued his attempts to gain her favor through gifts and kind words, the end result would become worse than she had feared, which is why she took measures into her own hands for the future. Proud of his accomplishments, Joe felt the need to sow his seeds into any possible direction. Though married, he did not act as such. Feeling on top of the world with his growing business legacy, Joe neglected to take care of the most important thing properly: his family. While he had created the foundation for the legacy of his lineage, Rose was the only one who cared for her family and helping solve problems within the general masses. His personal desires for greatness were no longer, nor were they ever, her concern. He didn't make them such, and so she ignored them, only making her ancestors even more proud of her. While caring and living a Christian life, her spirituality quickly overran her being, furthering the simmering rage bubbling within her soul. Rose remained composed for some time during that marriage. More than 6 children had been born, for the initiation rites would begin for the end. Walking into the office to find another actress with her husband, trying to earn her way into a Hollywood part, again she caught him cheating on her during her 8th month of pregnancy, with their 4th child on the way. Filled with additional rage from the hormones, Rose grabbed the woman by her long hair off of her knees, yanking the woman violently, kicking her out of the room while she screamed. Rose somehow kept herself in refined presence. Though the aspiring actress made a scene, it would not be enough for any callback. Law enforcement ran to the office upon hearing the screams, quickly pulling the woman away from Rose's grip. The men apologized to Joe while Rose whispered in his ear the couple needed to leave. Immediately alerting the driver to prepare the vehicle, the two walked to the vehicle together. During the car ride, neither said a word to the other, only creating more tension, furthering the anger and rage bubbling within her soul, though Rose had remained composed for the majority of time during the marriage to her husband. Feeling at the end of her chain, she prepared for the upcoming ritual, watching his sleeping soundly while her frustrations arose. Rose ended her infamous composure. His career had already taken a toll on her, and his new affair made Rose feel weary. Once Joseph fell asleep without so much of a word at their estate, Rose started to pack her bags, returning to her parents' home to seek consoling from the marital nightmare. Her father reminded her of the need for appearances. It would not be until the year 1941 Rose would have the final confirmation sign necessary to complete her uniquely specified mission. In the adolescent years, her daughter Rosemarie Kennedy had changed from sweet to ruly and unkind. Without any explanation, her complete demeanor flipped to the worse and received special education. Multiple educators and doctors were ordered to remain silent for all treatments and sessions, never allowing the general public to have the knowledge at the time. Always behind closed doors when the family discussed problems within, as secrecy at that time had always been key. Though the knowledge of the mental illness from that familial incest had only been a small assistance to that child's illness, Rose had a difficult time watching her daughter struggle alongside of so many others who were similarly downtrodden. Knowing her child was not the only innocent suffering through such atrocities within their minds, her soul wept for all souls. Against her wishes, Joe married their fourth child to a male in a similar business deal as Joe acquired their daughter. Only a few short years after the vows were completed and exchanged with one another, both Rosemarie's husband and father had consented to undergo a lobotomy. Without the knowledge of the mother, the two males plotted and carried out the plans. Already a controversial medical procedure when learning of what occurred, Rosemarie's mother had been horrified when reading the medical notations. When informed of what occurred to her daughter, she demanded the documentation in full. Initially, her husband and her son-in-law refused to hand over the paperwork, but Rose's tenacity prevailed. The moment Rose had found the hidden records in Joe's desk safe, tears poured from her eyes, filling with increasing, boiling rage with each word of each medical commentary of her daughter. Rosemarie's lobotomy procedure, she had to take several breaks. Stopping many times over, Rose threw up reading incision notations and the medical side note commentary. The nurse questioned and instructions to the patient, Rosemarie, Rose's daughter, to respond to questions and directions until the nurse was told to stop. The doctor did not cease in making random incision slices into Rosemarie's brain until there no longer was any response from Rose's daughter. Once in the vegetative state, the medical notes stated Rosemarie's husband and father were thrilled and elated. Confronting Joe was already too late, because the damage had already been done to her child. Far too enraged to keep quiet or to herself, Rose stormed through the house to find her husband. She demanded answers now! Storming into his office, the glass shattered in all frames as the second door struck the wall. Shards of glass scattered across the floor, while her shoes crunched through the mess to startle Joseph, away from his paperwork, pushing all the documents off the desk to throw Rosemary's medical paperwork onto the leather covering the wood, to stare directly into Joe's eyes with blank fury. Refusing to allow any explanation for the medical procedure against her child, Rose brought to attention his refusal to acknowledge their child's existence for years, yelling at Joe for his choice to see his daughter only as a worthwhile business arrangement. She reminded him of all having feelings. Screaming of the innocence stolen from her child and her family, Rose brought up past horrible choices he had made, despising his commentary of mental illness being a retardation and his daughter being a freak. She renounced his bloodline lineage, informing Joe their family was not the only family with children who genuinely needed special care. She brought up prior conversations, pleading to bring the illness to the public. She told him the country could genuinely come together to find a reasonable solution to help the suffering within their minds. Rose asked, "Should we give this medical procedure against the will of the patient and the mother to the rest of the population in America? Or should we find a way to give them a chance?" While Joe stumbled to respond, throwing her deeper within the fit of rage and causing Rose to swing her arm backwards to strike his cheek with the back of her hand, yelling, "The government is not a god. There is only one god or goddess. Only one. And you, Joe, are not that one." Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to my channel. I'll put the links in. Go to my website. You can find the different books I wrote. And please do purchase each and every one of them. Have a good one.